All right, come on in. Find a seat. Don't sit in the ones with the sticker on them that says, "Do not sit here." All right. If you're feeling too much pressure, there's all kinds of seats up in the balcony, except that one seat there and those two seats where those dudes are sitting. They're really paying attention to the socially distanced thing. That's great. Good work, gentlemen. You can go upstairs if you need a spot to sit. Make a new friend. So all right. Good job, gentlemen. Making a break for it. Look at this. Look at this crew right here. Couple of ladies in there. Ladies, it's good to see you. Way to be confident. Look at that. You got a whole row up there now. Way to go. That's like synchronized swimming. Fantastic. If you don't know how to get up to the balcony outside, there's stairs this way and stairs that way, and doors up the top. All right, we have officially gone live, I think, except the clock's not ticking yet. Oh, we got what, 1 minute? Oh, we're live. Oh, there it is. It's ticking. All right, so you keep going. We're gonna wait 5 minutes for that countdown. I'm gonna turn my phone off. Now, I want you to do this though, because this is streaming live for your parents. So. Parents, if you're watching right now, I see you out there. Parents, I want you to get your phone out and I want you to text your kid and say, "You better be there. Text me if you're there." So you start texting your kids saying, "You're supposed to be in that session." Hi, Mom and Dad. I actually sent a link to my mom and dad in Australia. And I said, "Hey, we're going to be going live. You should watch your son doing his job." So, you know, it's like 9:30 in the morning. They're going to go to church in 30 minutes. So I said, just jump on there and go live, and then you can kind of be on the other side of the world hanging out with all you guys. So, hi, Mom and Dad. I hope you're tuning in. You guys are looking great. Whoa, there is no one in this. Oh, sorry, guys. I didn't see you up there. You guys are like the Muppet guys, you know, sitting up there. This is a very lopsided room. We kind of got a bunch up here. Empty. All right, if you guys need seats, there's seats up in the balcony. There's lots on this side. The whole side over here is empty except for the 4 gentlemen in the front row. Two minutes and 17 seconds. Man, this is exciting. It's so good to have people back. We had student leaders in here the other day and we were worshiping and I was like, oh man, this is so nice. But this is really good when we get the new generation, this year. If you need seats, there's seats upstairs. Well, you look socially distanced. That's good. All right, Mom and Dads, if you're just tuning in, text your kid and say you better be in the session. Todd Munger's looking for you. Whose Mom and Dad's text them already? Anyone? Put your phone up or your hand up if your parents have texted you. Come on. Someone's, all right, I just need to make sure there's at least one parent watching. "58 seconds. When this thing gets down to 10, we're gonna count this thing down from 10, and you know, on Wednesday, we're gonna kick this thing off in chapel, and it's gonna be awesome. And you're gonna like it, you're gonna appreciate it. But those of us who live here and have got this ripped out of our hands back in February, we are gonna be eating this up, and we hope you will be too, even though we're gonna be socially distanced. And because we can't bring Worship Live, it's like our Worship Live team is not really in quarantine, but we quarantined them, right? We're not gonna bring them out here and mess it up for Wednesday. We're gonna bring you Worship Live through our video system. We're gonna get it pumping in here, what it's like. It's not quite the same, but I hope you get to enjoy it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And now we're walking in
Just a little taste. Just a little taste. Hey, this is going to be an exciting year. It's going to be different, but it's going to be exciting. So I'm going to just take a few moments. My name is Todd Munger. I am the Executive Director of Student Development. This is my 17th start. I had a student leader ask me, like, do you still get excited about this after doing this year after year after year? I said, this is like an extrovert's dream. Love it, right? And but I am always excited to do this and to visit and to meet the stories that sit in the seats that you're sitting in. Each one in here has a story that God's going to use in an amazing way. And you've heard time and time again, if I knew what I was doing in Australia, that I would be in America doing this, yeah, I would never have told you that's true. But now I try to get money from my family saying I'm a missionary, you know. Oh, really? You're a missionary? Yeah, overseas. Really? Where are you at? I'm in America. Oh, that's not a missionary. They never send me any money, you know. But it's like I'm on the mission field. Because sometimes when you got an accent, people listen to you more. At least that's what they say. Then after a while, they just stop listening to you because you don't stop talking, right? But I'm just excited to meet each and every one of you. And over your course of time here, I hope we get to sit down and maybe drink a coffee or have a conversation or ask me if I want to chuck a shrimp on the barbie or, you know, whatever it is you need to know that's burning in your heart about Australia. I hope we get to visit. But right now, I get to kind of kick this off, and I just want to go over a few things. We're going to have a lot of shifts this year due to our situation we're in. And one of the things that I want to draw to your attention, because it's very small, and it sits in the bottom of the bag that you got today, is this little pin. And this little pin traditionally is given out at our academic convocation, which would happen on Thursday, but because of COVID and now social distancing, we can't give it out. But each year you get a pin, and this is your pin. And everyone gets a pin like this, a different one each year. And I want you to take this pin, because when you get this pin, this is a pin that says you belong to a family that begins today. So take this pin, stick it somewhere, not in your friend, right? But stick it on a bag or a hat or wherever you need to put it. But I have these pins, and it's interesting because I keep each one of these pins, and I have them in my desk, and each pin each year represents a different thing. I've got a Super Bowl pin. Doesn't say Super Bowl on it, but I was here when we hosted the Super Bowl and what that did, right? Now I'm going to have a COVID pin, right? Unfortunately, that's what this pin will represent, but it'll be a pin with a story that we all get to share. But I hope that today, as you came in, while maybe a little different than what we've experienced, it's the only thing you've experienced, and I thought today went great. In a time where we've been very anxious and afraid, it was so calm out there. It was a place of peace, and I hope that this year can be a place of peace for each and every one of you. But there's a verse, there's a story I think we're familiar with in Luke 5 about how Jesus asks the disciples, he's going to teach, and he sees these two boats by the shore, and he gets into the boat belonging to Peter, and he pushes out. He says to Peter, put out a little way from the shore so he could teach, and he teaches from there, and he says to Peter, put out a little way so I can, let down the nets. Put out the nets, right? And I read that one time, and I asked myself, am I willing to be put out for Jesus? Right? Am I willing to be put out for Jesus? Because when I was willing to be put out for Jesus, that's when Peter got such a large catch that he actually had to signal to his friends to come and help him bring in the large catch. But it started by being put out. And I think today, there's a lot of things, right? These masks, they're super annoying, right? Guy fogging up, I need little wipers because it fogs up my glasses. By the way, I will tell you, get a little pincher thing for your nose. It really helps. I think that getting a mask now, like when I first started this, I got Payless masks. Ladies, when you go to prom or something and you just need a pair of shoes for like 4 hours, so you go to Payless and you pay $10, and in 30 minutes you're like, that was so not worth it. I'm throwing them away. Yeah, that was my first mask. Right? It didn't work. I only need it for 2 weeks. This will be over. And then it's like, man, now I go in a shoeless shoes or something, you know? Doesn't look as fashionable maybe, but boy, it feels nice on my face. It doesn't fall off all the time, doesn't fog up my glasses. It's like Crocs for the face, right? They're not a stylish shoe, but people like them. So get a good mask is what I'm saying. It's worth the investment. But we're going to get put out this year. We're going to be asked to be put out. But the reason we want you to be put out a little bit is because we're believing for a great catch. We're believing for a great catch, and you're a part of that catch. I asked some people, I say, what were you doing 2 weeks ago? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, yeah, 2 weeks is a long time ago, right? I don't remember what I was doing 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago is 14 days from now. 14 days is the quarantine period if you get COVID, right? And you get to quarantine. Now, we encourage you and parents, as you're listening in, if you need to go into quarantine, which may be like, well, I'm just not going to get sick. Sometimes it doesn't matter if you get sick. It means you were with someone who was sick while you were driving to Target. And now you're in the car with them for 15 minutes or more at 6 feet or less. Yeehaw, you just got a 2-week vacation into quarantine. Man, that stinks. That's putting me out. But let me tell you, if you're willing to sit on the bench for whether it be 3 days because you're not feeling real well, or whether it's 10 days because you need a quarantine, 2 weeks on the bench so you can play the game is a lot better than fouling out and having to forfeit the whole thing and not getting to finish out the season, right? So do your bit for us, because we want to be here. We'll be here in 2 weeks. That's like a vacation time. Then you get to come back. When we left in February or March, whenever that was, it was supposed to be a 2-week spring break. And they never came back except to get their stuff in a hurry. So we need you to do your part with this piece from the bottom of my heart, because I don't want you to leave, right? So hang in there and do that. I'm going to give you a basic overview, and then we're going to invite our president to come and just do a welcome. So I just want to touch on what kind of happened here over the next little bit. And so over the next few days, we're going to be doing some sessions like this. We're going to be having them tomorrow night will be our next kind of big one, and that's going to be on community life and all the different things we get to do on campus. On Monday, it's an academic day. You got to come to these things, or you'll sit there saying, I don't know what the heck's going on. I need to know what to do, and I don't know why I don't know this, and everyone else seems to know, because they went to the sessions. So come to the sessions. Learn about the academic piece. You're going to meet your advisors. You're going to meet your professors. You're going to learn how to log on to Moodle and Panopto and whatever other digital medium we're using, how to do class. If I have to quarantine so we can keep this thing going, you got to come to those classes. It's going to be really important to you. But after this, when we're done right here in this session at 7:30, we're going to get up and we're going to leave, and we're all going to go over to the soccer field. And we're going to take a photo, socially distanced, because that's the only place we can really do it. Someone's going to be up on Miller Hall with a camera, and we're all going to be socially distanced out there on the soccer field so that we can get the epic COVID picture so that you can show your kids, right? This is what we did. And then one day it'll be on the memory wall down here on Miller Hall saying, what are all these weirdos doing? It's like, oh, that was COVID year, man. That was bad. Look at them all, right? So we're going to do our COVID picture. And then after that, you're going to turn around and you're going to meet your welcome week groups. And those were the letters that you were given on your folder. There was a letter, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O. I think it's M, N. N's the last one. If you don't remember it, we'll have people out there. But that's when you're going to then dismiss to go meet those groups so that you can connect with some friends. And then tonight we'll be doing our floor meeting. So that's kind of the schedule for tonight. But right now, I just want to welcome to the stage your president, Dr. Scott Hagan. Come on up here and address this year's freshman class, man. You got to scrub in. You got to I tell you, he just got his doctorate, and he's not learned how to be a doctor. You can't come up here and do, spiritual surgery and not scrub in these days. Get your scalpel. There you go. You're ready to go now. Or you can take your mask off. That's fine.
There we go. Good to see everybody here. You guys did great so far. Man, just seeing the video of what it's like in here, literally every day, just makes my heart just beat. I just can't wait to get back to somewhat normal. But seeing you guys is great. You guys look wonderful. look like you're all in surgery or doing something. It's just very weird to look at an entire room full of masks right now. But anyway, we'll get beyond that. Hey, can you put the picture up there if you can, Chris? I just want to introduce you to my family. Now listen, we're going to get to know each other a lot over the next 1, 2, 3, 4 years. This is my 4th year at the university, so I'm a senior this year. I dropped my daughter off here in 2005, and she was a freshman here, or a sophomore. She was a transfer student, was a business major, and the entire time at North Central just changed the whole trajectory of her life. And so I have a deep love affair with this school, and this is a dream opportunity just to serve as the president, and I love doing it. And but this is my little family right there. That's my beautiful wife to my left, and you'll see her on campus all the time, and we call her Mrs. H. That's kind of what they call her around campus, is Mrs. H. So that's Mrs. H to my left. And then, like, up there behind my wife with the girl holding the little kid in the white t-shirt, that's my daughter Jocelyn. She's my oldest. She attended here, and then I had a daughter, then I had 3 boys. But Jocelyn's married to the guy to her right, the tall guy right there. His name is Marcelo. And I met Marcelo. He is from Brazil. Now, when Jocelyn attended school here, there was a guy that kind of liked her a little bit from Wisconsin. And I said, no way, we're from California. You're not marrying anybody from Wisconsin. No rip on Wisconsin here, but there's no way you're marrying somebody out in Wisconsin if we live in California. And so I should have took the plea bargain, man. And so she kind of was socially distanced herself from him and ends up marrying a guy from Brazil. And so they went to Brazil for 7 years. So I should have took the Wisconsin deal rather than Brazil. But they actually live here again. That's their little daughter in the kind of the little pink. That's Olivia. And then Tessa is in Jocelyn's arms. Then my oldest son is right here on the front row to your right, my left, in the red hat. That's Tyler. That's his wife, Nicole. And her family's from Guatemala. And that's their 2 kids, Elias and Gemma, right there. So he calls Karen all these cute names. So he calls Karen Gaga for grandma, Gaga. Isn't that cute? Till he turned to me and called me Caca. And I said, no, that ain't gonna fly. You're not calling, I know enough Spanish, we're not calling me Caca. That ain't gonna happen. And so that's their 2 little kids. And then my next oldest is right behind Tyler. That's Kramer in the gray shirt. And he's married to Becky. And their 2 kids are on the far top over here, Elias and Zachy. And then she's pregnant with Jonah, who was just born about a month ago. So number 10 showed up since the picture was taken. That's Kramer. And then my youngest son down here to the right next to me, is Spencer. And he was our little guy that almost died when he was born, ended up being 6'5", playing college football. His beautiful bride, Brianna, their 2 little kids, that's Emerson and Spencer Jr. So that's kind of my crew that I roll with in my life, and most of them are all out in California. But we love to see them when we can and be around them as best we can. So anyway, you'll see Karen around here. She's actually was here all day long, but she stepped aside for a little bit. So I mentioned that I dropped my daughter off here in 2005. And it was brutal. I lived in Michigan at the time, and I cried all the way back through Wisconsin. It was our first child off to college, and I never dreamed in a million years that I would be back here. But when I dropped her off, it just drew me back to my days when I was 17. My first day, this day in my life happened in September of 1980, back in the 1900s, back when we were born. But in 1980, this was my day, my first day, which you just had, where my parents dropped me off and they left. What's crazy about that day is I met several of my best friends for the rest of my life on that day. So when I'm watching some of you meet each other, I'm making some introductions today, this guy meeting this guy. I took a step back and watched it. I said, you know what? There's a good chance for the next 50 years of their life, they're gonna do life together. And because my friend Greg Farrington, my friend Mark Powers, who ended up being my roommate, I met him the check-in day of my first year in college. Little did I know when I was talking to that person that we would do our entire lives together, be in each other's weddings, be there for each other's kids, walk through cancer together, walk through everything. One of them ended up being a missionary in Africa, had to come home because of cancer. And now he lives in Washington, D.C. We just have been friends for 40 years, but it all started on check-in day of our first year in college. That's what was going on today Now, we may not know fully. I can't come back and check in about, 40 years and say, hey, yeah, we met that day. Now we're best friends. But you will be shocked at the seeds that were planted today, people you met today that are going to change the course and the trajectory of your life. And you're going to do this whole thing in life together. That's the beauty and the power of a college community. I just got a couple things I want to tell you. Then I'm going to end with a very brief story. And the verse that I'm going to repeat, you're going to get not tired of ever hearing the Bible, but you're going to hear me talk about Daniel 5:12 1,000 times. And I'll tell you why I'll talk about that 1,000 times. I want to introduce it to you because it's what I pray over you every single day for our school. But before I do that, I want to share a very brief little parable called The Two Doors. So it goes like this. There are two doors of opportunity in life. You look through the first door and you say to yourself, I can make that opportunity great. You look through the door, and what you see on the other side, you say, I can make that great. Because you already know you possess what it takes to succeed on the other side. You already know you can do what is required on the other side of that door. So you look through, hey, I can make that great. That's the first door. But when you look through the second door, you see a greater risk. And here's what you say. I must become great or something new in order to succeed. I've got to become more than I am to succeed through that door. Now, most people in life, if they play it safe, they always pick the first door. They always say, I'll just go through the door that I know I'm already good at, and I can make the opportunity great because I'm going to bring greatness to the opportunity. Or you look to the second door and you say, I need to grow and change and transform to succeed through this door. Who I am now is not going to be what is required and what it takes to succeed at this opportunity. I begged my 4 kids, always pick the second door. You see, through the first door, you bring who you already are. But through the second door, you bring the potential of what you must become. The second door is demanding. Walking through a college door like this, it already tells you, I've got to become more to succeed through this door. Just playing it safe through the easy door, just being who you always have been. Friends, don't choose that door. And I believe you haven't chosen that door because coming to college, especially in our little COVID moment, is the choice of the second door. But it's going to require more of us than we realize. When I went to college, I was very immature. I went to play basketball. I was a jock. I wore my baseball hat backwards. I went to a Christian college, sat in the very back row for chapel for the entire first year. Never one time opened my mouth to sing. Everybody's singing and praising the Lord. And I thought that was just for that crew, and that ain't me. So I just held back in the shadows because I was a basketball player. And it wasn't until the beginning of my second year when I met my wife-to-be, Karen, and I fell in love with Karen, and she loved the Lord, and she asked me one day, how come you don't worship God? And I said, what? She goes, I never see you worship God. Are you a Christian? I go, of course I'm a Christian. Well, why don't you worship God? Don't Christians worship? Okay. So I started worshiping because I was in love with her. And it worked out. I mean, the Lord took over. But I just kind of hung in the shadows, just being a basketball player, terrible at school. Got a 1.85 my first semester of college. Nobody looked at me and said, hey, there's a college president. There's a guy who will have his doctorate one day, his PhD. Aloof, disengaged, too cool for myself, always worried about people looking at me. But then God got a hold of my life at the beginning of that second year of college. And the whole trajectory of everything changed. I forget who it was who preached in chapel that day, but it changed my life. We had to go to chapel. I went to Bethany Bible College, like North Central Bible. I was there to play basketball. I had a great career, was All-American there a whole bit. But I didn't go there to play basketball. I went there for the Lord to reach my life. And he did do that, and it changed the course of it. But my goodness, I sat there for that first year, kind of wasted it all away. I wasn't very mature, like I said. And so my grandfather made a way And this actually was at the very beginning of my second year, which is why this story is critical. This was the semester that the Lord really dealt with me. But my roommate, Mark Powers, the guy I met the first day I was here, who ended up being a missionary to Africa, he was my roommate. And he loved the Lord. And Mark got up every day. I never woke up one day in my dorm room with a little light on over at the desk, and Mark is over there reading his Bible. I'd never seen anybody in my life read their Bible every day. We have all these classes going on, but Mark Powers got up at 6 o'clock every morning, sat at the little desk, and read his Bible because he loved the Lord. I'd never seen anybody in my life do that. And I remember I'd roll over on bed. I always see him sitting there and just kind of think like, man, that guy loves God. Wow. I don't. I felt guilty, but I still wouldn't get myself out of bed. I wasn't there yet, but I'll never forget that image. So this guy tells me at the beginning of my second year this. I couldn't go back to college because they cut the these little basketball stipend scholarships, and I was stuck. My grandfather, who didn't have a lot of money, he walked up, and I just told all the AGWM missionary students this, and the Acts 6 scholars this. My grandfather walked up and gave me a check for $2,500. Now, back in 1980, that's like $1 million. He gave me 25. He put his hand out. I took it, and I got to go back to college. So I told my roommate about the miracle. When I got up that day, or I got back to school for about the first 3 days, I'm skipping my first class of the day to sleep. I'm not going. Someone said, you don't need to go to the history class. You don't need to go to that class. You can sleep in. Some idiot told me that. So I'm not going. Mark Powers, my friend, you know what he said to me one morning? He said, hey, he nudged me. I go, what? He goes, hey, does your grandpa know you're burning through his money like this? Does your grandpa know you're burning through his money like this? And I mean, it was like a sword through my heart. Because I thought money's like invisible. Scholarships are invisible. How does all this come to be? And I realized in that moment, I was 18 years old, and I said, dude, you better wake up and grow up right now, pal. Because your grandpa sold something. He didn't have a lot of money to get me to this college. He wrote a check for $2,500 in 1981. He handed it to me in good faith, believing that I would not be sitting there, laying there, sleeping in, missing my coursework, burning through his money. And I know that's a brutal story to hear. I'm not trying to make you feel bad. You haven't even had a chance to skip a class yet. But I just want you to know that your response to this whole moment is to be a steward. And it was the greatest counsel I've ever been given by another 18 or 19-year-old. And it startled me, it awakened me, and it changed my life. And then chapel and all of it started to click, and by about November of that second year, my life had totally changed. And so I just want you to know today that you're coming here, man. It's like a 1 in a 5 million shot to get to go to college. This is a incredibly rare opportunity you have in your life. And I'm just pleading with you, don't let it slip through your fingers. I want to close here by giving you Daniel 5:12. This verse of scripture, it's powerful. The Bible says, Daniel chapter 5, that there was a man named Daniel whom the king said had exceptional ability. He had a keen mind. He says he could do 3 things. He can interpret dreams, which means he can see the future. He can explain enigmas or riddles, and he can solve difficult problems. Those are the 3 things I pray that you graduate with momentum from this university. I'm going to hand you your degree in about 3 or 4 years when you go across that stage. We're going to look at each other. We're going to remember today. We're going to smile at each other. Hopefully we'll know each other's names. And it'll be an emotional moment to hand you that degree in 48 months from now or so, give or take a few months. Because it means that you're graduating, you have reached and achieved a tremendous goal early in your life. But the quality of who you are is this. Here's what I pray, that you'd have the ability to see the future spiritually as a Christian. That the power of the Holy Spirit in your life would help you interpret dreams like, man, I can see the future. And I can explain riddles, or I can solve enigmas, which is things that people can't figure out. And he says, and he could solve difficult problems. He could bring enemies together in civility. He could create peace. See, what happened is there was a hand that was cut off, and it was writing on the wall at this banquet. And nobody could interpret the writing on the wall. That's exactly where we sit today in this country. Nobody, no entertainer, no newscaster, no pro athlete, nobody can figure out the writing on the wall right now. Everybody's scared. But that's why you and I have been placed on this planet and in this space, because God has anointed us to be able to do what others cannot do. We have a keen mind. We have an extraordinary spirit. That's what I want to see form in all of your lives. That's what I want to cultivate in my life, an extraordinary spirit, a keen mind, so that we can interpret dreams, we can solve riddles, and we can solve difficult problems for this country. That's my Daniel 5:12 prayer for you. Do I have 2 minutes? Here we go. I go to Nepal every year. I climbed up to base camp Mount Everest last August. It was a crazy climb. And I've been going now for 8 or 9 years. About 4 years ago, there was a cataclysmic earthquake in Nepal. Many of you might remember it from being in high school or junior high. Huge earthquake in Nepal, devastating. It happened about 3 weeks before our scheduled trip. Our team of 10 was already ready to go. We'd spent the money, prayed up, and we were going to do some pastor schools there in Kathmandu, Nepal. Then we're going to trek and go up in the mountains, not climb Mount Everest to base camp, but we were going to do some pretty serious hiking. Whole trip got changed, just like COVID. Everything changed everything. So now we're just kind of saying, let's go, let's be available. So we fly over there, and it just so happened that the 10 people I was bringing had never been there before. I was the only one who'd been to Nepal. There was no repeat people on this trip. Costs about $4,000. You have to take shots. You got to train. It's higher altitudes. I mean, you're amped up for about 6 months getting ready for this trip. And we're going, but we don't even know what our schedule is going to be now. Literally, we're going to land and make up the trip over the next 12 days. We land in Kathmandu. We go on a 12-hour Jeep ride up this mountain. It was brutal. It was just dangerous as could be. We get there in the middle of the night. We have to put these headlamps on. We haven't slept, no acclimation day. Now we're climbing up this mountain. We go up about an hour, hour and a half, steep climb. We get to this little village. We climb inside our tents and just thank God that we are alive, to be totally honest. It was like, oh my gosh, that was brutal. And so the sun comes up, and instead of having an acclimation day, the guy says, there's no men in this little village, just some ladies and our interpreter's not there. And they tell us in writing that we have to go to this other village and help. So we climb literally about 2.5 hours up this steep hill. Like, we're just dying tired. We get to this village, and they're motioning to us that there's a big dead buffalo, a big dead animal, 1,000-pound dead buffalo, massive animal, 500 pounds, I'm guessing, huge, dead, flies on it, the whole bit. And they go, your job is, you've got to, we need you to dig a hole and bury this buffalo for the village. Okay? We're going to what? We're going to bury the buffalo. They got these crude picks and these little broken shovels. They give them to us. And so my whole team is there, and we start digging this hole. It was hard pan. It was hard dirt to get through, rock. And about 5 minutes in, we're sweating, and they're looking at me like, I flew all the way around the world to bury a stupid buffalo? I could have went to my neighbor's farm and buried his cow. What am I spent $4,000, got shots in my behind to do this? And I'm faking it because I'm mad. I'm going, hey, servant leadership, dig, happy, fake it till you make it. Let's do it. My team morale was crashing. They're looking at me. Took us several hours to, you know how big a hole it takes to put a 5 or 100-pound buffalo in the ground? We're filthy. It's brutal, muddy. We do it. We finally get the buffalo in the hole, put dirt on it. We're bent over like this. My team has looked at me. They were like burning a hole through me. Like, I cannot believe. I thought we were coming on a ministry trip. What's the deal? Why do we do this? And I don't know either. It seemed dumb to me too. Finally, at the end of the day, there's an interpreter that comes in. We're bent over like this. Little grandma comes out. She's like 100 years old. She's little tiny Nepalese grandma with a little tray of tea. She comes out and she has tears coming down her face. I'm sorry, I'm moving. I'm blowing the Zoom. I'm sorry, Chris. I apologize for the Zoomers in here that I've been walking all over. She has tears coming down her face. She comes up to us and says, Thank you. The earthquake, villages have all collapsed. There's hundreds of people dead. Telling us through this interpreter, in the mountains, all the men are gone, digging out family. This animal died. If we don't get this buffalo in the ground tonight, the wolves come out of these mountains. They're going to feed on this buffalo, and then they're going to feed on our children. Thank you for saving our children. Thank you for saving the village. This group of yahoos I was with, they stand up and go, oh yeah, we saved the village. Oh yeah, we saved the children. Oh yeah. I'm like, that's what we were doing? We were saving a village? We were saving the children from being eaten? Why didn't you tell us that at the beginning of the day? And I thought, this is exactly how the kingdom of God works. Sometimes you spend seasons in your life going, how is this connected to this? How does this fulfill the passion and the vision and the dream? I'm sitting in this science class. I'm sitting in this math class, this English class. I got a vision. I got a passion. I got to get there. What does this have to do with that? I'm telling you straight up, you let God have total control of your story. And you're going to look back on your life and go, oh my goodness, I was a part of something much larger, a different story. I was involved in this little story, and God had this big story going on. Because sometimes you got to bury the buffalo to save the village. But the problem is, people halfway through the day throw their shovel down and go, I quit because I don't get it. God's not told me. This is a huge waste of time in my life. And that's why they never get to the big story. And that's why they don't get to cry like the 10 of us who went on that trip still cry when we talk about this story, because we got to be a part of something, and somehow we didn't quit halfway through the day. And we got to the end of that story and found out we had helped save a village and helped save a group of children's lives. And suddenly the assignment doesn't look that horrible at that point in time. God's not going to tell you the end game right now. You're just going to grind, you're going to shovel, you're going to dig. And it feels like, why am I burying this stupid buffalo right now? But I promise you, somewhere along the way, the Lord is going to show you the actual story you were participating in. It's not a big waste of time. It's not a waste of your life. Stay faithful, even if you don't understand it. Don't quit. I'm going to tell you straight up this too. Last year we had a bunch of freshmen come here, great kids. Something happened last year to a handful of the students. It was a phenomenon all over the United States. Every college experienced the greatest dropout of freshmen. Typically in their school histories, last January, last fall, the freshmen came, the new students came, and they just couldn't cope. They checked out. We got all kinds of support structures for you. We love you, but you got to make a choice right now. I'm not going to burn through my scholarship. I'm not going to burn through my finance. I'm not going to burn through my loans. I'm not going to burn through mom and dad's money by just checking out. I'm going to be a steward of this moment. And even when I get tired, I don't understand why I'm burying this buffalo. I'm still going to stay faithful, even though I don't understand it. Because at some point, you're going to find out you were part of something you never could have dreamed up on your own. It's huge over your life, this university, your friends' lives. You're in the right place at the right moment. We love you. Can't wait to kick off the school year. And get ready, because classes start Thursday, okay? Wednesday? Wow, see, I slept in on Wednesday. God bless you guys.
That's why he's the president. All right. I'm going to move this. I'm going to invite up. So it's hard. It's hard to plan everything in the lens of COVID, and to make it kind of exciting and engaging when you can't yell and interact and do lots of things, right? So I was just praying about how are we going to do this session? How are we going to connect with you? And so, I hope you have heard the heart of our president. He's like one of the greatest storytellers of all time. I can't tell you how many times that buffalo has been buried, but I know I've heard it like 8. And I love it. Do the buffalo one. Wait till he tells you the fly story. He's got a few rippers out there, man. You just sit there with your popcorn and like, what? Listen, watch this. This is a good bit. This is when they're going up the hill to get the buffalo. This is good. Listen, this is a good one. He's a great storyteller. I'm glad you got to hear that. But I want to invite up a friend of mine. Anna, come on up here. This is Anna Kidda. Scrub in, grab a mic. And, yep, however you want to do it. Everyone's going to have to figure this scrub in deal. Now, we're going to sit. Are we still in Zoom? You know, Jeremy threw a zinger at you. He said, okay, Zoomer, when you said, sorry, Zoomer. I was like, that was good. Are we still good? All right, so we're gonna remove the masks. Because we're 6 feet apart. And then you can see our faces. Now, the thing with Anna is Anna and I, we have an interesting relationship. And I said, I want to ask you to do something, but I know if I'm Todd, who she knows, then if I have my mask off, then it doesn't hopefully feel as bad. So this is Anna Kidda. And I asked Anna, I was just praying about this day, and I said, would you do me a favor as a student of mine, a mentee of mine, and really a friend of mine to say, can you help me out with something for these students that are coming? I want to do something that I hope will be helpful. Now, one of the things I love hearing on the radio or on TV is behind the music kind of ideas, like how songs came to be. And there is a song that was released that Anna wrote. And we're going to end this service with that song. But I want you to hear Anna's story about that song, because somewhere in here, and I don't want you to just say, well, I'm a COFA student, I'm a College of Fine Arts, I'm here to do music, I'm really into this is my story. This is all of our stories in different ways. If you're a business person, a social work major, education, if you're in technology, if you're in music, I don't care where you are, listen to this story, so that when you hear this song, you take this song with you as we start out this year. All right, so with that introduction, that was a big one, I know. Anna, just introduce you. I got my questions here, but tell us who you are so that these students get to know you a little bit.
Hello, everyone. It's so good to see your faces, half of them. My name is Anna. I am a senior this year. You probably saw me running around today in a red skirt. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. And I am a music pastor major, so I make the trek to Menzing. How many music majors do we have in here? Oh yeah, that's awesome. So happy to see you. We're happy to have you. I am from Michigan. I'm from Lansing, Michigan, so I'm gonna do the hand thing, but I really don't do it unless, like, if I'm in Michigan, I don't do this, but I'm from right here. It's called Lansing. It's the capital of Michigan. It's like such a non-city, it's not even funny, but I've been born and raised there my whole life. I'm 20 years old, and yeah, my whole family is pretty much there right now.
Brothers, sisters?
Oh, I have 3 older sisters. I am engaged.
Oh.
I forgot, I should say that. They're pointing him out. He's right there.
That's
I'm going to embarrass him a little.
Supporting.
Guys, ladies, I met him my first day of classes on a Wednesday in Menzing, so keep your eyes out.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so we will have been together for 3 years in October. And then we get married next year. But yeah, 3 sisters, mom and dad, the
awesome.
whole shebang. Yeah.
All right, so that's Anna, normal person like you. All right, now it's question 2. Tell us a little bit of the origin story of the song Breakthrough.
Yes. So the North Central version is Breakthrough, in quotations, Spirit of David, because it's the main part of what I wrote was the Spirit of David part. But, oh goodness, I had been on this campus for weeks. And that's when that song came out. So it was September of 2017. I have a voice recording from September 17th, which is actually my birthday, September 17th, 2017, of just that song. And that wasn't even the first time I had, played it. So it was very fresh. It was very new. But I had been in my dorm in Miller Hall, room 429, and I was just having a devotional time, my roommates were out, so I was like, I'll just use this space, I'm gonna have a little Devo time, journal, and the Lord clearly spoke to me. He said, Anna, you're gonna hear my love for you. and I went to the piano that I had, and that's what came out. The chorus, I've given you the spirit of David. And I think at the time, I don't think I really recognized all of what that song meant because I was just singing it for myself. And, I had moved away from home, and I didn't even want to go to college for the longest time. And the Lord called me here, and, I was a freshman. I felt like there wasn't as much for me to do because all the teams for Worship Live have already been picked. And it was like I needed that reminder that I was a strong person and that even in my weakest moments, the Lord was still with me. And so, I think that's kind of where that song came from a little bit.
Okay, so Anna was, as a freshman, worked in my office in student development. She still works in there now, but she was a front desk worker. We don't usually hire freshmen, but we did because we did an interview. And
that was another reason why I came here. I was like, a job? Okay.
Yeah. So we don't usually do that, but she was
class?
there. So she's in student development, and we, I was her boss's boss, and so we kind of got to know each other. And one day I came in, and she wasn't, and I always ask people how they're doing, and she wasn't doing real well. And she was, and we, I'd say, how's things going, music, and, doing this stuff. And she says, well, I got this struggle with this song. Tell me a little bit about that journey, which was in my office. And I'm like, well, this is kind of weird, but okay, tell me about that
I was
part.
like, well, you're a counselor. Maybe I can process with you. I don't know. I'm a young adult, had a lot of things to learn, still have a lot of things to learn. But that would have been my sophomore year, because that's when we recorded the song. And I think there's this thing called Creative Fridays, which any of you music majors or not are welcome to go to, and it's where they do songwriting for the North Central albums specifically. And Jeff Dio, who is one of our worship guys over in Menzing, he wanted to use the song for the album. And that song was so, so personal to me. And I did not, I was like, I'm not ready. Like, no way, I can't let this go. Like, you can ask Aaron. I was freaking out about it. I was like, this is not.
There was lots of tears.
I was just like, this is like too special. Like, I can't let this go. It's not ready. I'm not ready to let it go. And it was kind of one of those things of like, I had to let it go because that song's not God. And I couldn't let that song become God for me. But it was a huge thing of like, this is like my baby. This is like my song. It was like, am I ever going to write anything again that's like good enough for something like that? And so it was kind of an emotional process. Obviously, I decided go for it. Sounds a lot different on the album than what I originally wrote, but it's great. It sounds great.
All right. So one final question for you before I just add some comments to that. As a senior, what would you share with this incoming class?
Like Todd said, this is my senior year. And this is your freshman year. And that means that a lot of you in here got your senior year taken away from you. And I know that was hard. And you're coming in as a freshman, and you're having to wear a mask, and you're having to stay distanced, and you're like, how am I even going to make any friends here? But this is your school now, and you have to take ownership of it. And if it means wearing a mask so that your freshman year and my senior year don't get taken away, and complying with all the things that they tell you to do, this is our school, right? And we want to be here. We so desperately want to be here. But it's not going to be easy. Like Dr. President Hagen said.
Lots of titles now.
Dr. President, I don't know. All of the above. You chose the first step of walking through the door of most resistance. And like Todd said, I think you said it when we were doing like a student leadership thing. You said, my biggest fear is that people won't hold out long enough to see what God is going to do. Can you hold out long enough so I can graduate and you can have a first-year experience? Because this is our school. So I have great hopes for this year. I really do.
It's going to be awesome. this song that we're about to end with here is, this is the, she doesn't know this. This is the song I cry to the most. I have listened to this, I actually called, I was speaking down in Texas, you remember that, right? And I called her, because she was my student worker, so I happened to have her phone number, and I called her, and I was getting ready to do a chapel thing, and I'm sitting in my hotel room, and I've just got your song on repeat, because it speaks so deeply to who I am. And I've listened to it all this week. I listened to it yesterday when I was driving into work, and I'm just bawling on my drive in. This song is, I think, where we have to grab onto that we have the spirit of David within us, that we know how to worship and we know how to throw down. This is a fight song. Yeah. This is a fight song. And it says in there, you need to fight back fear. Mm-hmm. And you need to fight for his love. And you need to fight back oppression. And you need to fight for freedom. This song is why we need to be here today. There are schools all over that are shutting down. In fact, Jeremy sent me, he keeps sending them to me. I said, Jeremy, don't send me any more texts until you send me a Christian university that looks like us that's shutting down. I said, because 19,000, a giant, is not the same as a David, right? That's good. We are small, we are agile, we're in a place, and I just believe in that God's going to do something. And so we need to fight. We need to fight for it. And I want this song to be your fight song. And I want you to be able to take it into a devotional space. I want you to play it in your home. I want you to get in devotions when you're struggling to do it, and I want you to listen to it, because everybody knows that we have these songs that capture a moment in time. And I want this to be a part of that worship experience. This is your worship live. And this young lady here, you will see her around like, you're the breakthrough girl, right? We had a breakthrough guy here too, but
both of them.
Yeah.
Different stories.
It's like she's a normal, everyday person who gets annoyed and frustrated and wishes the cafeteria was open and it's not, or whatever, right? She's just like you and I. But talk to her, because her story sat in your seat. Yeah. And she wrote a song 3 weeks after this day that is now changing the world. So let's listen to this song, and then we're going to be dismissed. Actually, everyone, let's stand up. Let's stand up. Let's kick this song going. And if you want to worship, however you want to worship, you can have a seat. Thanks, Anna. Everyone give Anna a hand. Let's listen to this song, and then we'll be dismissed.
I've given you the spirit of David. You know how to worship, and you can throw down. I've given you the spirit of David, and it's time you fight back for your generation. The time is now, and the battle's raging. So lift your song and shake the nations. I've called you out to be overcomers. Your praise resounds with a holy boldness. I've given you the spirit of David. You know how to worship, and you can throw down, yeah. I've given you the spirit of David, and it's time you fight back for your generation. I want you to fight back in the field. I want you to fight for my love. So take your place, 'cause you know I'm with you. Be unafraid, 'cause I'm fighting for you. Just watch and see that I hold the victory. The comes your breakthrough. Here comes your breakthrough. Receive the light. Here comes your breakthrough. Here comes your breakthrough. Receive the light. Here comes your breakthrough. Here comes your breakthrough. Receive the light. Here comes your breakthrough. Here comes your breakthrough. Receive the light. Here comes your breakthrough. Here comes your breakthrough. Receive the light. Here comes your breakthrough. Here comes your breakthrough. Receive the light. Here comes your breakthrough. Here comes your breakthrough. Receive the light. Here comes your breakthrough. Here comes your breakthrough. Receive the light. Here comes your breakthrough. Here comes your breakthrough. Receive the light. Here comes your breakthrough. Here comes your breakthrough. Receive the light. Here comes your breakthrough. Here comes your breakthrough. Receive the light. Here comes your breakthrough. Receive the light. Here comes your breakthrough. Here comes your worship. Receive the light. Here comes your breakthrough. Here comes your breakthrough. Receive the light. Here comes your breakthrough. Here comes your breakthrough. For your
Jesus, let's pray. God, I just pray this year that that would be our fight song, that this generation would fight for your love, that this generation would fight back fear, that it would fight back oppression, that we would fight for freedom and for justice, Lord, that we would be a light upon a hill, that we would witness for you, that we would spread the love of Jesus and the salvation that comes through his name and the blood of the Lamb, and that when we doubt and when we are afraid, that you would rest on us with the spirit of David, that we could go into battle, that we could run toward the battle line, and that no matter what comes our way, that we would hold firm to your truth and your promises, that you will never leave us nor forsake us, that you are Jehovah Shalom, our peace, and you are the one that goes before us and clears the way. Help us, Lord, to step out in faith. Help us, Lord, to stay true to your word. Help us to be in your word each and every day. Help us to love our neighbor. Help us to love our friend. Help us to respect our neighbor. Help us to respect our friend. Help us, Lord God, to make this a year where we see amazing things. For Lord, we know the world is looking upon this school. And they have looked on us this summer and they have seen a school they've never heard of. And once again, as the schools around this country and this nation begin to writhe and not sure what to do, that there'd be this school, a David school, the smallest school maybe, out in a field somewhere where the world does not sit down until David arrives. Let us be agile. Let us be small. Let us stay true to you. Lord, I know your anointing is here and your anointing is on these students for such a time. You have drawn them here. And we are excited for what is in store for 2020. In Jesus' name. And everybody said, amen. Everybody said, amen. You don't believe it. Everybody said, amen. All right. Here's what's going to happen. Not slowly, but methodically. So you don't all just crash into the doors, right? Because that kind of kills our social distancing experience. You know, think of it more like a wedding or a funeral where you've got to kind of leave in slow waves out. I want you to head out Don't go back to your room because we got to get a photo so that you can say, I was there. Head out to the soccer field, and there are cones. Stand inside the cone. That's your radius. Does that make sense? Yep. All right. Head out to the soccer field.